Not the multi-sprint, which is made up of a single race with 2 mandatory pit stops, but the regular sprint format, which is made up of no mandatory pit stops, but being split into 2 races. Perfect. So what will be happening is on the hour, in about 8 minutes time, the servers will, well, they should be up already, but you guys will get the passwords at that point. And upon joining the servers, you will find yourselves in a 15-minute practice session. During that time, comms are totally open. You're free to chat about how dreadful the conditions are, the track is, or the car, whatever you may choose. After that, we'll be going into Qualifying 1. So, Qualifying 1 is a 15-minute session, and to be split between the 2 classes, the first 8 minutes of the session will go to the GT4s, and the final 7 will go to the GT3s. For those unfamiliar with how we split up the time, what this means is that the GT4s will be allowed to leave the pits as soon as the session starts, while the GT3s remain in the pits for the first 8 minutes of the session. So this means, in essence, GT4s are allowed to continue setting times up until there are 7 minutes remaining in the session based on the in-game timer. If you start your lap before the 7-minute mark in a GT4, feel free to carry on and finish that final lap. However, if you are unable to start another flying lap before the timer goes to 7 minutes remaining, please abandon the next lap and return to pits. Your session is done. GT3s are allowed to stack up at the pit exit in order to prepare to take to the track if they want to try and get a little bit of track position. Do keep in mind that we don't want to see anybody abusing the ghosting mechanics of the pit lane. Treat the cars as if they can actually physically interact, and do not simply park inside of other cars waiting for the timer to go to the 7-minute mark. If there are cars in the fast lane, please stack up behind them, or if they're blocking your exit from your box, please wait until all traffic has cleared from the fast lane before pulling out and beginning your session. In Q1, you are free to set as many laps as you want. That is very important. However, if you do have any penalties to be served in qualifying, they must be served in Q1. Penalties have to be served in Q1 if you have a non-qualifying penalty. If you fail to serve it in Q1, it will be counted as not served. So this means that even if you attempt to serve it in Q2, it will not count as served. So do keep that in mind. After Q1, we'll be going on to the first race, which is 30 minutes long. There is no mandatory pit stop, and it will be a full and free formation lap before going to the grid and starting the race. I will cover that once we get through the rest of the general format. After the first race, there will be a short 2-minute post-race timer before we jump into the next qualifying session. Qualifying 2 will be 12 minutes long, split between the 2 classes, this time 6 minutes apiece. And for Q2, please keep this in mind. All cars are only allowed 1 out and 1 flying lap. As soon as you leave the pits, it is the beginning of your attempt to set a timed lap. If you fail to complete your out lap or feel the need to go back and change something, please note that that will be the end of your session and you will not be allowed to leave the pits again to go for another attempt. You must dedicate yourself to the track and the lap as soon as you leave the pits. If you cut on your flying lap or encounter traffic, simply put, it's unfortunate, but it can happen, so please keep that in mind, that the lap must count. Penalty served during quality. Yeah, we have some non-qualifying penalties too. So there are a few folks who need to sit out of Q1 specifically. So do keep that in mind. Qualifying 2, 1-shot qualifying, 1 timed lap allowed only. As soon as you've completed your lap, please pull off somewhere on the runoff on the track, somewhere safe, before returning to pits